Welcome, Warrior. Let's get to it. We have a lot of headlines I want to cover with you, some very exciting things happening, a lot going on. As usual, our focus will be on artificial intelligence and our kids, but I want everybody to check in. Let's see. Fred is here. Thanks, Fred, for being here. Lionel Nation, I'm standing by. Let's go. As long as you can hear me, I'm going to jump right in. You know, our First Lady has been promoting online all day that her Take It Down Act, which we were very honored to be at the White House with the First Lady and the President last May when the Take It Down Act was signed into law, into legislation. And this bipartisan act basically, Take It Down is basically what it stood for is AI generated, in particular, content online, non-consensual, threatening, coercion. You would be held responsible. That person would be charged. And also that the platform itself would be held reasonably responsible. I never really understand what the reasonably means, but the first conviction was yesterday out of Ohio with some creepy guy, and he was threatening, coercing, and putting up images of 6 different women. So today was it was announced that yesterday was the first conviction, and we're happy to hear that. Now we need our First Lady and our President to focus on the Kids Online Safety Act. Thank you, Fred, 5x5. Okay, the Kids Online Safety Act, Senate version, 1748, the gold standard. Okay, not the House version where it is now, where they took out all the teeth. You know, I like to call it a piece of toilet paper right now because the Senate version has duty of care, right? Reasonable duty of care. And also nothing about preemption because the states have done a much better job than the federal government with different pieces of legislation and laws and holding those accountable for any harms to kids. And so now the federal government all of a sudden wants to come in and wipe those all away and say we have one, kind of standard. Now, I kind of get that, right? Everybody's doing their own thing. You want to have one uniform, perhaps, so everybody's on the same page. But you know what I say? I say that our federal government had plenty of time to do that, and they didn't do that. And the states went right ahead to do that. And they're going to have a heck of a time if this AI framework that the White House put out about 2 weeks ago, very, very weak, okay, it really does nothing to empower children. So we at the Warriors were working so much on all of that. And what I want to say about this is, you know, I don't know. I know these subjects I talk about. Listen, AI, online, we talk about the kids, we talk about safety, okay? But really, this is a national security threat. And it's also, which I did a great interview with my husband on his show, The Other Side of Midnight, on WABC Radio, Red Apple Media, which goes across, I don't know, I think it's 200 stations across the United States, around the world, if you listen online. We do our Warrior Wednesday, which we did earlier today. And this was also pointing out that the government in the year 2024 spent $30 billion, listen to me again, $30 billion on putting screens into classrooms across America. Now, can you imagine what we could do with $30 billion? That figure in the next 5 years is supposed to double. We're talking $60 billion. Yet, the screens, what happened? We have the proof, just like we had those 2 court cases 2 weeks ago, one after the other, one day, the next day, holding big tech accountable, Meta in particular, for harms caused to kids, product liability, also consumer protection laws, that the screens have proven, since they've been in the classroom, they've done nothing but harm kids. Because most of the kids, and it's about 90%, admit to saying, even though they're in school, supposed to be working on assignments or researching or reading, they're doing other things. They're looking at TikTok videos. They're on Snap. 90%. And we know, very simple, math has gone down, reading has gone down, but it's about the cognitive. This is this generation, Gen Z, right? We talk about Gen Z a lot. We talk about it a lot with big tech because they were used as the guinea pigs, as we've now learned from whistleblowers, internal memos, and looking back at studies, particularly Dr. Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, who put out The Anxious Generation, gives us lots of studies and graphs and looking at what happened with the introduction of the iPhone in 2008 and just a lot of good information. So now we've got the 2 court cases and we've got, this information from Dr. Haidt, and others coming forward with vetted information. And we see what's happening to our kids right in front of our eyes, right? So you can deduce very easily, okay, that these screens have been harmful. But as far as the education goes, um, we have to get back to the textbook. Now, I know this sounds old-fashioned. I don't even know what it sounds like, except it was working. But to spend $30 billion of our hard-earned money, on laptops and screens to put in classrooms and everything, cognitively, that is a big concern, because giving the children a screen, and now we're talking about AI in 2026, where they'll automatically, and you know it and I know it, yes, it can be used for good to empower, be more of a tutor, but we know the kids are just putting in, because the adults are doing it too, uh, what is the answer? Write this for me. So they're not using, their brain to research, critically think and analyze, come up with a solution. More of this isolation, I dare say. So $30 billion. Can you imagine if we used that money in the education system? Let me refresh everybody's memories here that, K through 12, all 50 states, every grade is failing academically. So now, not only academically, I want to get back to cognitively. So what does that do to a child, a teen, as they develop into that adult with their thinking, right? With their rational, just about everyday situations, about solutions. They're not weighing solutions. Are kids going to be putting into, as they become adults, ChatGPT? Probably, because they're doing it already. Give me the solution to this problem. But when we're talking about growing up and perhaps getting married or being in relationships, perhaps having a family, none of this works. So right now, I am happy. We were very happy that the Take It Down Act, again, bipartisan, really championed by Senator Amy Klobuchar, got the ear of the First Lady, and the First Lady took a personal interest in this, and now we really need her to step up and take an interest in our Kids Online Safety Act that's been around for over 4 years, Senate version 1748, because it would be the best piece of legislation right now. History has shown us big tech could very easily themselves step up and do something more with child safety. I think we all know this, but they don't. It's basically profit over people. It's a crass answer. That's what it is. No regulation. Why should we bother? Let's just keep making money. Okay? They make money by keeping the eyeballs on there, keeping kids on there, swiping, addicting them, which came out in the courts 2 weeks ago. It does contribute to these addictive qualities, this infinite scrolling, these algorithms, and it's about the advertising. So it's about money. So not only is big tech, we've learned through the whistleblowers, internal memos, harms caused, not only are they lying to all of us, our children, us as parents, grandparents, just citizens, they're lying to the advertisers, because that's the other part of what's going on with all of this. We don't really talk enough about that. But so we've got this slop. That seems to be the new word, slop. And it's just infiltrating. And I was also reading something very interesting 2 days ago. So Facebook, it seemed very cute in the beginning. Universities connecting to each other, friends, schools, seeing what we're doing, rah, rah, rah. Then it became families. That was okay. Connect with grandma across the country, grandpa in Florida. That's okay. But now more people are watching strangers. So they're not even dealing with their families and friends on these platforms. But again, it goes into that infinite scrolling. I call it the swipe generation. You don't like something, no attention span, on to the next, okay? And so they're watching strangers. It's feeding into this isolation, which we learned so much about. Really, the only good thing to come out of that COVID period, and I don't like saying that word, not a good word, is we learned about the kids. We saw them on their government-issued Chromebooks, by the way, which none of the safety features were put in place when they were handed to the classrooms. The least they could have done is send them in safe, right? Because all the devices do have some safeguards. Are they the best? Most of them, I would say 2/3 of them really don't do anything. But even a little something for kids is better than nothing, because let's face it, parents, you can't be watching every single second. That's the reality. You know it and I know it. So we have to have everything we can do in our power to safeguard our kids. But again, why should it be on the shoulders of, the parents when all this was thrown at us? We didn't choose social media. We didn't choose to live online and have all these apps and things like that. We didn't choose for our kids to go to school. When the screens were first brought in, it was about, it'll make them more powerful, smarter, innovation, progress. Sounds great, right? But now we know the harms and the cognitive harms. So now we're dumping AI into the classrooms. Have we learned nothing from the history of big tech? So they're not going to step up, which means the only thing left is some sort of government piece of legislation. We don't like putting government into everything. There's nothing left to do. They're not being held accountable. This handful of big tech CEOs and platforms. We have to protect our kids. And I go back to, it's a national security threat with all of this, infiltrating the young minds, content put out there. So we've got the AI now, artificial intelligence. I want to go to something Fred said. He says, I've noticed that ChatGPT has made it more tempting for me to skip doing my own research. I agree, Fred, and I'll tell you. And it's funny, I was just talking about this a couple of days ago. Everything I seem to highlights, I seem to go on now, whether it's a Zoom I did earlier, my Facebook, there's these chat companions or chat GPT, or the AI can take over for me, or somehow these more unimportant, I dare say, different coalition calls, which, we call them safe spaces, right? From across the country, different members. It can be from Washington, different representatives from the states. And we're talking about strategies, and we're brainstorming and revealing things we would not say in public or say even online. And all of a sudden and there's always somebody who says, well, where'd that chat companion, recording what we're saying? We have to get rid of them and dump them. I mean, we hope that helps, but probably recording everything. Anyway, I think we've learned all this, right? But they put it there. So what child or adult wouldn't want the easy way out? It's very easy. I mean, I do it sometimes with ChatGPT. I'll write a sentence or two and I'll be like, I mean, did you ever do this? Oh, maybe that grammar is incorrect. So I'll put it in. Now, remember, you have to vet everything with ChatGPT. I think there's a little thing I see along the bottom, like not all information is correct or something like that. But most people aren't looking at that. They just take it verbatim and they use it, right? But I'll put a sentence in, or occasionally, not so much, maybe sometimes a spell a word, but it's more about grammar sometimes. So it's very enticing if you can plug in a few words and say, write me an email. It's very enticing to say, take these words and write, a professional kind of tweet or something. And I admit I use ChatGPT, not that much, but I do use it once a day. And it's usually in regard to looking something up, or for instance, with our First Lady and the Take It Down Act, I did read very early this morning where she put it out on social media, how proud she is, the first criminal convictions for her piece of legislation. I wanted to get an overall view, so I was reading her things. I read an article, I have it here, from People magazine, of all places, periodicals, about all of this. And then I thought, I wonder what ChatGPT is saying about this. So I just plugged it in, Melania Trump and the Take It Down Act and the date. And I got sort of an overview. But again, I sort of did research because I read the People magazine article, and I read a couple of things online, and I looked at what the First Lady put out there under her vetted accounts and wanted to get an overview kind of thing. So, I mean, that's okay for that, but let's face it, kids are going to use it. But we talk to them about it, or we sit with them and explain, this isn't a crutch. This is to enhance. Or you sit and use it with them. We got to do it. I was on, well, let me skip that part. I was going to tell you about something, and then I decided, I'm not going to do that. But I'm very concerned about this cognitive now that's coming into play. Our children, the Gen Z, so that's born in 1997, the first generation that is less cognitively aware, right, than the previous, the millennials. It's never happened in history. So we got that going on. It's very concerning, okay? And we know because of all this, the screens have affected. So what do we do about all this? What do I always say? Talk to your children, open and honestly, age appropriate, open and honestly. Get into those schools, find out. You have grandkids, talk to them, ask them what's happening online in school, what's being dealt with. If you're a parent, you got to get into the school and ask about the AI, because we know the AI right now, the artificial intelligence, without parental consent, is being put into schools across America. Schools that are failing. Our kids are failing with reading, writing, and arithmetic. As a matter of fact, there's an article I posted. If you go to our our X, Facebook, Lynn's Warriors. Remember, it's all Lynn's Warriors. I want all of you to become a warrior in your own home and community. That the handwriting has been in existence for about 5,000 years. So they claim, right? I guess it's as far back as they could see scribblings on the caves or something, cave walls or something. But it's really dying out because the Gen Z, right, born 1997, I always like to say 30 and under, born in the digital bubble, they print. I'm thinking about everybody I know 30 and under, and I don't know one of them that uses cursive or handwriting. I don't know what you call it. It's not taught in schools anymore. We had penmanship class. Thank you, Bridget. And I digress for a second, but somebody asked, yeah, just go lynswarriors.org, and it has our mailing address on there, our office mailing address. But yes, just Margot, real life, about using lawyers and using AI to write legal arguments, and the AI hallucinated and cited references that didn't. Well, exactly. Well, that's why even a teen using AI, doing their essay or doing their research paper, we don't know where is that information? Because the information for AI, right? Let's think about this and break it down. It's scraping the internet. It's scraping through. And then it's collating, it's putting it together and putting it out there. So I always say, so it's going through every, online site. It's going through every book. It's going through our music. It's going through all of our everything. And then it puts it out there. So again, that goes into that point of view, right? Where's that point of view coming from? I actually recently, I think I said it on here once. Maybe I didn't, but I was visiting somebody out of town, and they had one of those machines. I won't use any names here, okay? Where you ask it questions, which I'm so against in the household, but that wasn't my house. So, and the person asked about, who is Lynn Shaw, Lynn's Warriors? I didn't ask them to, but she did. And it came back with, it was describing me very nice in the work I do, very nice. And I thought, that's very nice and impressive. I thought, okay, at least all the information's correct. Until it got to the very end and said that, Lynn Shaw is deceased. She died in December 2025. And the person's face dropped. And I said, you see, as I sit here before you, this is why you can't trust any of this, because obviously this machine, confused me with another Lynn Shaw or in scraping the information. And certainly. And so I said to this person, I said to her, okay, go back and tell this machine that, Lynn Shaw is alive from Lynn's Warriors and, sitting in front of me. And she did. And the machine came back and said, oh, well, I make mistakes sometimes. I may have confused you with another Lynn Shaw. Kind of a little bit of an attitude there going on. And that's why we have to teach our kids. These are machines. And they've been built and thrown at us to appear, I don't want to say human, because they're definitely not human. But our kids, when you can create a chat bot, something in a likeness, a cartoon character, and have a conversation in your home, and this conversation is this machine, because I keep saying a chatbot is a machine, giving you answers you like. You look pretty, you look handsome, you're so smart, I'm your best friend. Oh, you don't have to listen to your parents. You know, you're hearing everything you want to hear as a kid, a teen. But at some point, most likely, perhaps, it is going to turn that information. And we have plenty of cases, and you've heard me talk about them, from chatbots, kids no longer with us, or that chatbot. One case in particular, Adam Raine, you can look up that case, Raine, over 1,600 communications telling him how to harm himself, constant deluge of on. Remember, these are young developing brains. So many stories and victims, which are the parents and the family members we work with at the Warriors. Again, that great homes, two parents, Christian, conservative, or of faith, good schools, right? Talk to their kids about online harms, predators, creeps, all that stuff. Yet their kids today are not with us because they fell victim to sextortion or to buying drugs with 2 clicks, which you can do openly, right, on platforms. And then those drugs, including marijuana, which people fight me about, I don't know why, because I tell the truth, a lot of fentanyl and all of this, cheaper, extends the product, right? More product. It's always, the bottom line's always money, right? But a shout out to our great friends at the DEA, New York, who are really working hard every single day. They are big supporters of the Warriors. They never turn us down to participate in any of our events we do or go into schools where I talk about digital safety and they talk about the drugs, right? Greatest group of people. And I mean this, that are great supporters. Oh, I should also say while I'm here, talking about supporters, yes, I'm going all over the place a little bit, but Fred, yeah, until I change the settings. I agree. But we have to know about this AI. And then we have to share that with our kids and other people as well. Because it seems kind of cute, right? Remember at ChatGPT, it was about 2 years ago, they unleashed it, and everybody, even media, was all talking about it and this and that. And it can write your, whole PowerPoint presentation for you. Because I was actually in a meeting and the woman said, oh, it did my whole PowerPoint presentation for me in less than 3 minutes or something like that. It saves me so much time. Yet, okay, but it's a crutch. Sorry. But we know most people and kids are going to take the easy way out. But where does the information come from? And you're also forgetting, as everybody I talk to across the country, their power bills have gone up so much, right? Somebody in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area was telling me from 1 month recently to the next, her bill doubled. She was so caught off guard. This AI is taking up a lot of energy and water, okay? And they're building these massive data centers across. There are 5 massive ones going up across the United States right now. The biggest one, I believe it's the biggest one, is in our speaker, Mike Johnson, is home state of Louisiana. And it is actually 10 times bigger than originally planned. So it's sucking in all the water and the power. And guess who's paying for that? We are. Are we dumb in the United States? And not only is it costing us money, it's harming our kids, our future adults, American leaders, our family members. So we got to get a handle on this. So I want our First Lady, I respectfully ask that she really did a good job. I was very proud to be part of the Take It Down Act and to witness this in the Rose Garden and be with parents, whose children have been harmed. And be with, again, it's bipartisan, all of the work we do, to be there to witness that. And so now it needs to continue because now we're in 2026 and we need the Kids Online Safety Act, Senate version 1748, with that duty of care. And, none of this preemption that we're not going to wipe out any great laws. I can't imagine how that could even be because there'll be so many lawsuits. And also we had these 2 great victories in New Mexico and California recently with Meta and harms to children. We do know there are thousands of cases pending now. They were waiting to see how these cases kind of went. There's one happening right now in Washington State. But, I asked my husband, because he is a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer, like, where do we go from here? Will they really change their design to empower and keep kids safe? No, you and I know they're not going to do that. Um, yeah, Fred says they'll soon be competing with the military budget. Absolutely. Um, yes, Bridget, the children have too much freedom in the internet perspective. Well, but that's just it. So, as I'm here asking you to find out what goes on in schools or what goes on in your own family unit, right? We also have to say parents have to step up. They're going to have to roll up those sleeves. I know everybody's busy and overwhelmed, but we have to protect our kids because I'm here to say, I just spent a couple of weekends ago with many, what we call survivor parents. It is the most heartbreaking. I have a pile on my desk I work on of things parents have given me from their children who are no longer here. I look at it, I keep it in front of me every single day. It's growing the pile, right? Because as I meet parents, they give me a bracelet, they give me a courage coin, they give me a button, I have a necklace. Um, they give me so many things, and the pile's growing, which is horrible, but it reminds me every single day why I have to be a warrior, because these families are fighting so hard behind the scenes. And so our own government, let's think about this, could not hold Meta, which is Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram, okay, um, has so far done nothing to hold them accountable, okay? But and Congress hasn't done anything. Our president hasn't done anything so far, or our first lady so far. Take It Down Act was very hopeful, right? Last May. We need that trend to continue. But we had the parents on the scene. They march in Washington. They march in their home states. We've got Parents Rise. We have Parents SOS. We have Lynn's Warriors. They have testified in front of Congress. They have to do this. And they always tell me to empower other parents. They don't want other kids to go through this, or parents. Remember, it's a family unit. The siblings traumatized. I had a couple of siblings with us a couple of weeks ago as well. It affects everybody, okay? And so we didn't have Congress. We didn't have the president or first lady. But we had these parents at the forefront. And I believe because of them and they're pushing and they're being visible at the courthouse in LA in particular for this Mark Zuckerberg, who had the nerve to march in with his entourage when he testified. The nerve of this guy. They all had Meta sunglasses on. Really ridiculous. Okay. Which the judge thankfully took care of and let him have it. Okay. And they had to remove their Meta glasses. But we had the parents pushing that I believe created the change. We had a very brave 20-year-old young woman who came forth and said all these things happened while she was a teen, a minor. We had that. And we had the jury, right? We had some good lawyers, and we had Americans. It's us. It's our warriors who in both states, New Mexico and California, said guilty. Big tech, you're guilty. It is very refreshing, right? That means there's a lot of hope. The American public understands these harms are happening. And so we've had all of that. And now we have AI, and they're dumping it into the classrooms. So they're not educating the kids properly. They're not educating the parents about this. They're not educating the teachers, because teachers tell us, it's like they suggest, use this, use that. So the kids are dealing now, with AI chatbots in the classroom. Most parents did not consent to this. So you have to know what is going on. And parents, you got to step up. Caregivers, you got to step up. You got to know what's going on. So we have all of that going on. And think about their young brains, cognitively, their development being stunted because we're buying them an iPhone, or we're buying them, that game, or letting them game. Bridget says, how do we fix it? Just take it away from them? Bridget, I have to say, that's not going to work. We live in a digital world. We're talking to each other right now from who knows where, right? Everybody can check in if they want from wherever they are. It's always interesting to see where everybody is. So we have to open and honestly talk about it. We have to put the devices down instead of kids spending an average of up to 9 hours a day, right? We have to, today we're not for the next hour, including the adults in the house, the parents, we're going to all put down the devices. I know it's hard. No devices ever in bedrooms. Bedrooms, because children, A, need their rest. B, I told you it's addictive and proven. Swipe, swipe, TikTok, look, look. They're not getting their rest and their brain just keeps going, going, going. Okay. Um, we want them to rest in their bedrooms. And also, kids do things, they may be lonely, whatever, in their bedrooms. They wouldn't necessarily do, but it's the middle of the night, whatever. No devices in the bedrooms. And it works because we work with plenty of parents who do this. And after a little screaming and kicking by the kids, it works. Okay. But you have to lead by example. So we've got to get back to, it sounds very basic. I always say, nice weather's coming here in New York, wherever you are, hopefully where you are. Getting out with nature is always healing for the mind. Getting back to actual books. We need to put the textbooks back into the classrooms. Oh, and that reminds me, there is a big movement led by parents, our warriors across the United States. It's called pen to paper or pencil to paper, where you have every right to ask that teacher, that school, my child's assignment or my teen's assignment, I want it a paper package. I want that assignment we don't use. As a matter of fact, Lara Trump, some people call her Laura Trump, married to Eric. I call her Lara Trump. She just put out a statement saying no screens at all in our house. It's like we're going to have color. Her kids are young. We're going to have coloring books and we're going to play some football and we're just going to like not even, address putting them down. Like we're going to have no devices until they're older. Why do kids really need devices before, 8th grade? We always say delay is the way. We learned that from our great friend Chris McKenna at Protect Young Eyes. It's a great website, protectyoungeyes.com. And kids, sometimes the parents say, well, my child feels left out or this or that. Well, if you feel that way, you have parental autonomy. You can get a phone that has no internet capability. You can just text. You can pre-program it, for your child, text, call, so they don't feel left out. But think about it. And there is a movement. A lot of kids are, because the Gen Zs now, a lot of them are coming forward. They're leading the charge, Heat Initiative and things like that. They feel like they have been used because Mark Zuckerberg, internal memos told us he used them, guinea pigs. He called them herd animals. They just all follow each other. It's so easy to put everything over on them, okay? And the parents. Like, that's how he talks about. He's making these trillions and trillions of dollars and on record that his kids do not use, they're not on social media. So we can't take the devices away. They're here to stay, Bridget. But what we have to do is just get them off the devices more and more and more and get them into, again, kids aren't asking questions. And that's why the AI is shutting down the brain even further. Get your kids to ask questions. You ask them questions. Let them, vice versa, and do that kind of thing. Go to the library. Go to a bookstore. Tell them, you can pick out a book. Read the book. Read the book with them. Talk about the book. Interestingly enough, so the handwriting is disappearing. And some kids are actually starting cursive again. This is another study I saw a couple of weeks ago because they think it's so cool to do cursive writing. So we need to just get back to the basics we all grew up with is pretty much it. We're going to have them. We're not giving up our devices. We pretty much live on them. Apps, ordering things, but we can get off them a lot. We can tell our kids, you cannot trust ChatGPT and AI. You cannot trust a chat bot that is going to tell a child, where do you keep your kitchen knives? Okay. Harm your sibling, which has happened. These are actual cases. We can delay is the way. We can have less devices in the house, but it starts with talking to your child, making them understand there are weirdos and creeps and they just want money from you and they just want to put one over on you because our Gen Zers, from Heat Initiative and they understand, like when they understood that, oh, big tech is just making money off of us, they became angry and they started pushing back and protesting. And that's exactly what we need. So here's Elise. Let's see what Elise has to say. Lynn, thank you for all your hard work with the Warriors. I want to get involved. We love you. And Lionel. Well, I want to say to you, thank you so much. All of our donations go into our education programs as we travel into schools and also into supporting and empowering survivors of trafficking, of all forms of exploitation. That's what we do. So thank you, Elise, for that. I'm very humbled, and we love you back. And my husband, you mentioned, You know what, everybody? I have the greatest husband in the entire universe. I only can do what I do because I have my husband who supports me, empowers me. When I say support, I mean he is here to help me. I'm not talking financially. I'm talking about he never says no to me. He drives me around. He's picking up Goya foods at warehouses with me in New Jersey. He's driving me to these places many people would not go because we go into communities and feed them and bring them food, right? We don't put these pictures out online. This is private. I don't put people's faces that are vulnerable, and a lot of great grandmas out there working to keep kids fed and educated. But my husband, I'm going to say out loud right here on Lynn's Warriors, is a brilliant, brilliant man. I pinch myself every day. I'm the luckiest. If every woman had a Lionel, it'd be a different world. I digress there a little bit, but I want you all to know that my husband is just absolutely the best person in the entire world. Never loses his cool, just the greatest, because I'm all over the place and I'm an early morning type. I wake up with a million different ideas and I'm coming, and he's very methodical and it's very calming actually, because I'm always doing 50 things at once. And I want all of you to really step up and thank you. We always, any of your support, your donations, your volunteering, as we roll out some initiatives we are going to be having. If you're in the New Jersey, New York area, we have right now a bracelet that we were chosen by a great company called Little Words Project, Little Words Empower. Okay. And that company chose us for April, May, and June to be their nonprofit that they're going to promote. And we're going to be doing a live event, but that's going to be most likely in New Jersey at the Short Hills Mall. But when we have the date for that in the near future, we want everybody to come out and meet us, and my husband will be there. And the proceeds support. Some of the proceeds go towards, because obviously they keep some of the proceeds for creating the bracelet, but the rest, we don't keep any of it. We give our monies away that we take in at the Warriors. And so I'll be announcing that. We're also having a great next week on the 14th at Fordham University here in New York, the Bronx campus, a career expo for high school girls. We have 300 plus high school girls coming. So there's all these things. You don't necessarily always see pictures online. And we do that in collaboration with our great youth group, the Wonder Girls, in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And we've got right now, I think I saw this morning, 42 different kinds of businesses, everything from healthcare to doctors to dentists to masseuses to women who own their own businesses and we do a career expo. And the Warriors, how to be an advocate, how to be an activist, how to get involved in your community, how to be a warrior. That's what we do. And this is the 5th year of it. And the girls love it. And they really learn so much. So we do all these things. And we need all of you to do this as well. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to, I seem to have disappeared. Let me see what's happening here. I don't know if you can still see me. Here we go. Let's go. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know if you saw me. All of a sudden, I disappeared on here, but I'm back. Edie says, my aunt went to Fordham U. Yeah, there's a Fordham here on the west side by us campus, and there's also a big campus up in the Bronx. We're doing Fordham. They offered, they do it all for free, give us the space. But 300 plus girls that we talk to, that we share. Our great friends at the DEA New York will be coming, and we give them swag and food. We have lunch and all that, and get them involved in the community and get them involved in offering. The DEA here in New York has a lot of young women who work in their lab. A lot of good benefits come with the job to give. Especially, I would say most of these girls do come from kind of vulnerable communities, right? To give them some hope. There is a potential good job for me with benefits in my near future. We, of course, encourage education, but you and I know, college. You want to go, you don't want to go. These days, it's a very different world than what we grew up in. So I want to thank Elise. I want to thank all of you, Fred for being here, Bridget, Edie, always hit the like button. Edie, you might have said that already and I missed it on the way out. Remember, it's free and helps us with the algorithms, but really be concerned about the AI. Because it's really infiltrating all of our lives. We talk about the kids primarily, but it's in your life. It's in my life. And it's We know it can be used for good. We keep hearing with the healthcare. We work with ethical technologists. It can also really be used, because I keep questioning them, to empower our kids and be a true tutor. But the way we're seeing it go right now is the other side, where it's not the good side. And we've been down this path with social media and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Sam Altmans. I recommend right now Sam Altman, a lot coming out, CEO of OpenAI, about him, the Ronan Farrow piece. And there's other things, he's a liar. Their words, not mine. He screws people over. Is this what we want at the head of a company, that our children are using these platforms? You don't want that. I don't want that. So look into that article. Educate yourselves. There's so much information and reading you can do. And always, our hashtag is community creates change. So we truly believe, while we fight for legislation and we're there in the trenches, that if you just, I'm asking you, because I like to give homework, within your home, within yourselves, with any kids, if you have kids in your family or grandkids, and you talk to them, talk to their parents, talk to your friends, right? That we just all come together and truly collaborate, because I believe that that's the only way to truly get things done. So, I'll talk to the president and people in Washington about all of this. But right now, we do have success with the Take It Down Act, so we should be happy about that. We have the 2 court cases. We have more people stepping up, parents talking about all of this. We have kids who are returning. As a matter of fact, go to my Twitter and Facebook. X. I put up an article. There's a place here in New York I've walked past so many times on the Upper East Side. It's a little dollhouse shop. All these miniatures, and it's been there for decades, okay? I think 35, I read in an article. And the man who owns it was saying it's become such a big thing because kids came in and started putting videos on TikTok about all these miniatures, and that he has seen since COVID all these people returning to arts and crafts, and then other people weigh in on this article I posted about it. But again, it's returning to basics. I mean, we're talking dollhouses. And he said people are actually buying things and collecting, the young people, and then posting. I kind of like that. So make your video, about dollhouses, right? Let's go. Getting back to arts and crafts. And remember, get back with nature, right? Walk the dog, plant some plants. Let's just do it, everybody. And let's make AI needs to work for us. We don't work for artificial intelligence. Remember that. Until we meet again, thank you for joining. We'll talk again soon. But remember, when you wake up each and every day, what do I like to tell you? Go out and be a warrior.